This is a wrap-up video covering our cross-country trip to Humble Road in New Jersey. I'm also going to cover the costs, how much we spent on campgrounds and fuel, and also going to share with you some of the suggestions that our viewers made on places to go if you're doing something that's similar to this. And you guys had some really good suggestions. And then finally, I'm going to talk about some of the maintenance that we've done since we got home and what our next plans are. First up are the costs. We traveled 7,609 miles from California up through Canada and then into Vermont, New Jersey, and back across the country again. And we spent on fuel and also the diesel exhaust fluid, which I think we filled up once or twice. It was a total of $1,723. And on camping costs, we really saved a bundle because we stayed at a lot of free spots. We stayed with lots of friends and family and some of the people that we've met because of this channel. And so we only paid for 5 nights at campgrounds, and the total was $78.50. The cheapest was Goodale Creek, which was $2.50, and the most expensive was a private campground, Indian Rock, and that was $38. That kind of blew the budget. So we feel pretty good about that. And I put all the places that we camped on this map, and you can see our route because some people wanted to know what route we took. And it's a little bit haphazard because we just kind of wing it when we go. So we might see something, we might see a spot where we can camp and maybe see something interesting, and so we kind of head off and divert ourselves from a straight route across the country. So I went through all of the comments to see if I could pluck out all of the kind of suggested places to go, things to do, and I hope I got them all. I probably didn't, but you can always add yours below for things that we missed. And of course, we always miss things, but it's kind of fun to know that when we go back through these areas again, because we'll have other things, other new things that we can do. The first one actually came from a couple of people to stop, when you're at Badlands, to stop and see the Delta IX missile. Now we tried to do that, and we tried to book a tour, but they had no availability. So that's something we can do on our way back. But several people said that that was definitely worth a stop. We really enjoyed having our bikes on this trip. We did a good bit of bike riding and hope to do a lot more in the future. Some of the comments had to do with other places back east where we could have done some riding. Mostly it's rails to trails. And several people mentioned the Virginia Creeper Trail in Virginia. And so I looked that one up, and that looks really good too. It's 35 miles long, and it's in Abingdon, Virginia. Another recommendation was the Virginia Capitol Trail, and it is 52 miles long between Richmond and Jamestown. So that would be another fun bike ride, and it would be so neat if we could find the right kind of travel agent who could coordinate, bike tours of these different trails where they figure out where the campgrounds are and all the logistics, and then people show up and do a bike tour. I think that would be a great way to travel on the East Coast. Here's another biking recommendation. It's to travel to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, where you can get on the bike train. Oh, I like that. An old-fashioned locomotive engine which takes you up the Lehigh Valley Gorge Scenic Railway to the village of Whitehaven. And then you can ride your bike down the scenic trail back to Jim Thorpe. He said it's 25 miles at a 2% downhill grade, and there are lots of waterfalls. Man, that ticks a lot of boxes. Speaking of bikes, I found a helmet that I really like. Our friends from New Zealand, they always travel with their electric bikes, but you can't ship batteries in an airplane. So they bought batteries when they were back here. They have a bike company called Reese and Muller. Yeah, Reese and Muller. Tinker is the model that they have, and it's a really nice. It's not the chain drive. It's the other one, whatever that is. Anyway, they're really nice e-bikes. But while we were down at the shop where they bought these in Long Beach, I was looking over their helmets because I was still unhappy with the helmets that I had, and I needed a new one. And I looked over and I saw this yellow one, and I went, let me try that on. This is a brand called POC, P-O-C. Maybe you've seen that brand before. And it's, it's one of the ones that they say to get that's certified in case you're in an accident, or, it has, I don't know, some special features in them. But I tried it on and I went, wow, this is a helmet that actually fits my head. Because, we all have weird shaped heads, and the other ones that I always tried on they just didn't fit right, but this one fit great. So if you're having trouble finding a helmet that fits your head, might try this brand. It might work for you. And then I was also glad because the visor that we actually got for the Ragbri ride last year that didn't work so great on last year's helmet, but it works great on this one. So really happy with that. And if you're curious about this little Velcroed on brim, it's called Da Brim, and it works really well. It's nice because it does a much better job than wearing a baseball cap or a visor underneath the helmet. And as I've learned, some people don't like that look. You may remember that we stayed at Goodale Creek our very first night, and we had an encounter with moths. And so we had a comment from someone who stayed at a nearby campground called Tuttle Creek. So they ran into the moth problem too. They suffered, I guess, for a couple of weeks. And if you saw our last episode, you'll see that we encountered our very last moth 1 month after leaving Goodale Creek. A guy named Keith is the host there. And he left a really funny comment because he had not encountered the moths in the previous year. And that's because these moths have a 2-year life cycle. So it's every 2 years that they come out. But he said in his comment, I had 50 moths in my trailer last night and hundreds under the blankets that I cover my bicycles with. Literally crazy with marks right now. And they weren't here like this last year. Somebody left a comment also about the fact that you can't block your backup lights and such. And he said that he had purchased the Kuat Piston Pro X rack. A lot of you people ask for advice on buying racks and such. And the Kuat makes one that has an integrated light system, so you don't have to worry about keeping your bikes covered. Not sure which episode it was when we crossed into Idaho, but we're on the highway and looked over and saw this huge gorge. So we quickly got off to see if we could figure out how to get there. And that is where I think it's pronounced Malad, Malad Gorge. It's right off of Interstate 84. And they said that they had also done the same thing. They had seen it off the highway and pulled off. But they said what I really missed, and I'm really sorry I missed it, was the best ice cream this guy had ever had. And it's a place called the Cloverleaf Creamery. It's on US 30 near Twin Falls. So next time we go across this way, and we most likely will, probably next year when we go back east again, we will stop at the Cloverleaf Creamery. They had a really interesting website, and they also have some kind of a farm store, like they sell a market. I think they called it Market Farm. So that's something to look into if you're going through Idaho. He said that they have a great huckleberry ice cream, which is his favorite. They have chocolate milk. They usually get a couple of bottles to take with them. And the eggnog, he's heard, is out of this world. Here's a recommendation if you're in Illinois, which is the Weldon Spring State Park. So we'll have to, if we get up that way, we will definitely check that out. If you're in New York State, there was a recommendation to visit the Corning Glass Museum. And I love all things glass, so that's definitely something we will look into next time we're heading that way. Someone recommended a book called The American Ramble, A Walk of Memory and Renewal. And this was after seeing our Gettysburg episode. And I have ordered it, and it should arrive today. And I look forward to reading it because it does look really quite interesting. There's another comment related to Gettysburg. Here's somebody who obviously loves history and recommended a bunch of YouTube channels that I looked at all of them. They all look good. There was Forward Gettysburg, Project Past, History Savior 1941, Historical USA, Vlogging Through History, History Underground. And then he recommended a podcast called Addressing Gettysburg. So if you are a history buff, then definitely check that out. Speaking of Gettysburg, we were recently at a funeral and met a guy who actually wrote a book about the Civil War. His name is Don Owen, and John bought the book and he's about halfway through. He's enjoying it. But I just wanted to mention how ironic it was. And, just when you're at these events and you know nobody or very few people, it's really important to try to strike up a conversation that, it's outside of what you might be comfortable doing. And you find these connections with people that is really kind of amazing. So I was really glad to have met these guys. They were really fascinating, and they were members of my cousin's book club. We always seem to get a lot of comments from people when we go through Wisconsin and Michigan, and this was no exception. So this time, people were recommending Bayfield and Madeline Island in particular. Several people mentioned that, along with Tom's Burn Down Cafe. Not sure what that is, but another place called Cornucopia. Somebody said that just there's a free campground about a mile north of town, and that's Ashland, right on the water. So we'll have to check that out next time. But I went to the website to see more about Bayfield and Madeline Island. There's a ferry that you can take your bikes across. So that's the way we would probably do it, rather than putting our van on a ferry and paying that extra charge. Just take your bikes across on the ferry, and then you can ride. There are quite a few bike trails apparently, and I downloaded a map of that and also the ferry schedule. So that's something to look into if you guys are heading that way. Someone mentioned that we missed Pictured Rocks, Porcupine Mountains, and Tequamanon Falls. We've actually been, I think we went to Pictured Rocks last year, but we're kind of booking it back again. That often happens on trips. You spend all this time getting to someplace, and then as soon as that mule smells the barn, they head back pretty fast. So Tequamanon Falls looks really beautiful and looks like something we would definitely check out on our way out east again, or maybe back on heading west again. If you're heading towards Sault Ste. Marie, this guy says make sure you check out their Seaplane Museum. It's called the Canadian Bushplane Heritage Center, and looks really interesting, and they said that you could spend hours inside. Someone asked me to do a video on my camera gear, and I really don't need to do a separate video on that because it's pretty quick to go through it because it's pretty simple. We use our iPhones mostly. I have the 13 Pro, John has the 14 Pro Max. When the 15 comes out, I will probably get a 15 Pro. So that's most of it. I have several GoPros, although DJI just came out with their new Action 4, and that one looks really interesting, but I don't think I need it. I'm trying to keep things simple. So this is just a Hero, this is the GoPro Hero 9. And this is a magnetic mount that I use. So I put there's a opposite side that I slip inside of my bra, and this then holds on to that. And that's how I've been filming some of the forward stuff off of the bicycles. So there's that, and then I use an H1N microphone for my voiceover. It's just this little thing. So that's for voiceover, and I probably should get a better one, but that's working. And I have Insta360. The problem with this is the third generation, and the only issue about these cameras is it takes a lot of extra time to edit the videos. So that's a drawback there. If you're starting out, definitely I would not go that route. And then I have lots of tripods. Before I get to that one, this is my this is my drone. It's a DJI Mini. I think it's the first version. I'm not going to upgrade because I hardly ever use drones because they're not allowed in most places, and I can get sometimes good drone footage off of one of the online sources that I pay for called Envato Elements. So that's mostly my drone shots if I have any, and that I have some in this one, and they're all from Envato. And then obviously I have a microphone that I'm using here to record this, but I should use it more often on when I'm recording for you guys, but it's just an extra hassle. And then I just recently bought this little tripod. I have a much larger, nicer tripod that I keep in the van, but I saw this on one of the channels I watch. I saw this and I thought, I'm going to give this a try for getting things out really quickly and maybe even being able to carry it with me. This thing has the built-in, this is for a phone. It even has a remote, which I've not tried out yet. And you push this bottom bit, supposedly, and the legs come out, although it's a little stubborn. There we go. Leg comes out like that, and then you pull up on, ouch. Obviously, I haven't figured it out yet. You pull up on, you pull up on this part. It's a little stiff right now. And this thing gets really tall. You might not be able to see it because it gets so tall. It gets as tall as I am, basically. So, you know, it's not like you can adjust it. It really needs to be on a flat surface, but I think in a pinch, this might work really well. And then, of course, you can put it on a table. So that's basically my camera gear. If you're interested in this, I'll put a link in the description box below this video, and it's in my Amazon store. So that's it. If you have more questions about that because you're interested in starting a YouTube channel or whatever, just put a comment below, and I'm happy to tell you anything I know. Always happy to share what I've learned over this last 5 years. And then someone asked me about pockets in jeans, whether I had found a pair of jeans that has good pockets for phones. And no, I have not, but you probably know I add pockets to my clothes. And I recently tried something new. I added a welt pocket to a pair of shorts. They were jean shorts. And if I can find the shorts, I looked for them before starting to record this. I couldn't find them. If I find them, though, I will show you. I will insert a picture. And that is something you could easily take to any kind of if you go to like a dry cleaners, they often have a tailor or somebody like that, and they could add a welt pocket. And that's probably the way to do it, because if you can't find material that matches, you don't want to use a patch pocket. So that's what I would do, is use a welt. And I put a zipper on it, so that worked out really well. Now let's move on to some of the maintenance we've done since we got back. We had, and this is actually, yes, we did this before we went up to Washington. We got the oil changed. So we change our oil every 10,000 miles, even though Mercedes says 20. But you know, with the use of biodiesel in our fuels these days, you want to change your air filters more frequently, and we think your oil. So we changed the oil. And we also got a new battery because our mechanic, we don't typically take our van to a Mercedes dealer. Our mechanic said our battery was getting low. It was down to 40%. And that's, that is not bad. We've had this rig for 6 years and, replaced the battery just this once. And he did say, replace it with the Mercedes battery, because that is the best. And then the last thing that we've done maintenance-wise is a new windshield. We took the van in to get the tires rotated, and then we needed to get them aligned. So we took it to a different shop, and John asked them to put on new windshield blades, and they cracked the windshield. So it was, it was a small, kind of a spidery thing down by the windshield wiper blades. And then we left on our trip to Washington State, and it grew and grew and grew and ended up all the way up to the end. So when we got back, we had to have it replaced. It is number 6 for us. It was more of a hassle because we had issues with the company that our insurance company recommended. They would not calibrate the safety features that you have in these new vans with the eyesight or whatever they call them. They would not calibrate it because they said we had done a lift to the car, and we had different suspension, we had all this other stuff. And so they would not calibrate the vehicle, which just seems insane. Well, it turns out they actually don't have the equipment to do it. We took it to the Mercedes dealer, just picked it up, and they were able to do it without any problem. They didn't care if we'd done the suspension on our vehicle. We used to take it for things like that to the Long Beach dealership, but we don't go there anymore. and I won't go there, but we just wouldn't go there. These guys were really professional. They also looked over a ton of other things for the vehicle to kind of check it out, do a once over, and said that we need to change the engine mounts. So we're going to take it into our local mechanic and have them replace the engine mounts. Mercedes wanted $1,000. I'll let you know what our mechanic wants. And our rig is just turning over 100,000 miles, probably in the next day or so. We'll have probably another 20,000 miles on it before we pick up our new van next summer. And speaking of our new van, I'll just update you. There's really not a lot to update other than to say that we took it into we had it taken into a auto sound place so we could have the screen that 3M film put on the front and the side windows. We didn't want to take a chance on driving it back to California to have it done and getting some kind of a chip in our windshield, because if you get a chip in your windshield, they won't touch it. So we had that done back there, along with having a new dash cam put in. Obviously, you want to, if you can, you want to do that before any of the roof stuff goes in. So they're doing that. There will be a front and rear facing dash cam, and I don't know if there's anything else along with that, but anyway, it was an expensive upgrade. Oh, maybe there was a radio upgrade. I don't know. But anyway, so we're getting all of that taken care of back in New Jersey. The bikes are working out really well. We use them a lot also on our trip up to Washington, when you'll see the videos as they come out. I did a 50 miles on the Coeur d'Alene in one day, and I used we have an extra battery, a little small auxiliary battery that goes along with these bikes, fits in the water cage. And so I know I can go at least 65 miles, probably 75 miles when I have the auxiliary battery along with the battery that comes in that. But that was it was a rail trail, so it was a very flat ride with a little bit of a headwind occasionally. So what's up next? We are heading off soon for another trip up to the Sierra, and we're not sure exactly where we're going. Maybe Yellowstone, who knows? Maybe we'll just hang out in the Sierras, I don't know. But John has some work up there that he has to be in that vicinity, and we hope to be gone maybe 6 weeks. That would be nice. But then we have some things we have to be back for at home. So looking forward to getting out again, because after some really nice longer trips, it is good to be home again, but then I get antsy and I want to be on the road again. In next week's video, we will be off to the Sierra and farther north.